You're listening to For Film's Sake with Irving, Twitterless Joel, and Jose. Oh, right, and me, Chris. Enjoy the show. Hi, hey, hello, and how's it going? This is a new episode of For Film's Sake. Remember to catch us on IG for Film's Sake Pod and on YouTube at For Film's Sake 1. I'm Chris. Got a pretty good show planned for you in this episode. Irving.
Hi, everybody.
And I'm also joined by Twitterless Joel.
Hey, everybody. Nice to be back.
And we got a pretty good topic to cover for this episode, so cut to the chase. So, we've all seen a lot of great movies, right? So, there's always a number of movies that do not check the box of rewatchability value, right? For whatever reason, we recognize they are great movies, but we're fine just seeing them once, maybe a second time to confirm how great it is. Whether it's because of the theme it touches on, or it's dense, it's something you have to be in the mood for. So we're going to answer that question for ourselves. So let's just begin with that. So, Irving, talk to me and to our listeners about what's a great movie that you can say you love, you enjoy, but you can watch just a one time or maybe a second time, or don't rewatch that much.
All right. I think this is an awesome question because it is not easy for me to answer. When you were describing what were those requirements, right? I was, wrestling with so many films, but I'm going to choose one that for those who have been recently, exposed to this film through VOD, or maybe they had the amazing opportunity to watch it in theaters. Choosing 2023 Ava DuVernay's Origin. Um, I I I think that this movie is gonna age like fine wine in terms of relevancy, in terms of the importance of having that conversation and that exposure. But I gotta tell you guys something. I watched it back in January. Recently, this movie has been available to buy. I bought it the minute that this movie was available. And to this moment, I have not been able to sit down and watch it. And this is not because this movie doesn't, feel all or check all the boxes or fill all the requirements for me to say that I love this movie. This is incredible, amazing. For those who have seen it, I know, Chris, that you recently saw it.
Yes.
I have to say that it left me obviously mesmerized, but it left me at times shocked by its topic, some of the scenes that Ava DuVernay chooses to capture the pain, the grief, and at the same time, the tragic and the tragedy of discrimination and being obviously cast as
right.
she touches in this film. And I think that um, there are many scenes that are either visually striking and heartbreaking, but there are other scenes that are not supposed to. But the thematic of it's so gut wrenching. And for those who have not seen it, I'm not going to spoil anything in particular, but there are a couple of scenes that I only will just mention briefly, and one involves a kid in a baseball, no, a kid from a baseball team around the pool area, and the other one involves like the country of India. And for those who have seen it, they probably know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And this is a movie that the second or probably the day that I just saw it, I think I immediately messaged all of you in the chat, in our chat, and I'm not gonna not gonna swear here, but I'm gonna say that I think that I have thought about that movie every single day after
Mhm.
I saw it,
Mhm.
and it has left me. It has stayed with me, right? And I don't think that I'm gonna revisit this movie often, but when I do, it'll be obviously to observe different things and all that. But it's shock value, like the power that this movie has in scenes, in dialogues, in the lens, how it was captured, some of these, powerful moments and scenes, and the whole topic, and the beginning and the end. It's just powerful for me. I'm thinking about it right now, talking to you guys, and I think I have goosebumps. I think I have goosebumps, and I will say that Origin, it's one of those rare gems. I'm not gonna call it the M word that it's overutilized. It's a
Thank
gem
you.
of a film. It is absolutely Ava DuVernay at her best,
Yes.
and it's I I can keep talking about this for almost 4 hours, as you know, Chris. But I love this film.
Can confirm the India sequence was the one that struck me the most in terms of the impact of the topic
Hmm.
and the way we learn about the topic as an example of what is the concept or the awful practice of caste. So I
Yeah.
think I am 100% with you on that one. I think that's a great choice for you to talk about. We'll talk about other titles later on, but I want to give the floor to Joel and let him talk about which movie is that movie for you, for him.
Well, I don't know how I can go after that um, beautiful explanation and very important explanation by Irving of a movie that everyone should see. I haven't seen it yet, but it is on my radar, and I think I'm gonna see it pretty soon. So, my movie, and I'm sorry I'm laughing, but it is such a controversial film. Um, I those who know me, and you guys know me very well so far, know that I don't believe in the concept of censorship. I
Right.
think, yeah, I think that every artist, as long as they don't harm uh, someone or you know do damage to something that is sacred, or I don't know, something like that, I don't have a problem with an artist expressing what they want to express in the way they want to express it. So when we talk about Japanese director Nagisa Oshima, those who have watched his films know that he was that kind of director that he didn't mind or he didn't care what others think, what others thought, you know. Um, and his filmography is an example of that.
Right.
One of those many films that exemplify what he went to, of films that demonstrate his beliefs and especially his belief that art shouldn't be censored specifically.
Yes.
It's a 1976 film called In the Realm of the Senses.
Okay.
Yeah, this film is about the true story of Sada Abe. Sada Abe was a geisha and prostitute in early 20th century Japan, and she is very famous in Japanese folklore. For those who want to know a little bit more about why she's famous, I would recommend you right now give it a pause to the podcast. Search for Sada
Not
Abe.
before I talk. Not before I talk. After I talk. After I talk.
No. But wait. Go search for Sada Abe.
Yes.
Read the early the Wikipedia page, the summary of her life in the Wikipedia page, and then return here. Okay, now you're back. Good.
That's much better.
So
that's much better.
Yeah. So that movie is wild. It is one of the most graphically sexual films I have ever seen in my life, and I have seen almost 2,000 films. It's not. I know it's not a lot compared to film critics and film enthusiasts out there, but for me to say that one of 2,000, that's the most graphic one and the most wild one, it is something. And yeah, it is very graphic. It is very polemical. It doesn't hide anything at all. Nothing. What you think can't happen in a film happens here. In in the aspect of sets, at least. It is
Okay,
not a
so
pornographic. Yeah, it is not a pornographic film. Let me tell you that. It might look that way, and it might feel that way, but it has a reason for it. Nagisa Oshima was trying to send a message to the Japanese censorship committee. I think it was called something like that. Of like you're going to censor my films because some of his films before this one were censored and it weren't related to about sets, unlike this one. This one is specifically about sets, but the the reason that he did this one, it was like fu to the censorship board of Japan. So now you want to censor my films, then you're gonna have a film that you're gonna have to censor more than ever. And that's why he did this film. It's like a pettiness in to the extreme, and I think he did a great job. It is a film that is you need to watch it at least once. Maybe you won't like it, maybe you will hate it. That's fine. I understand. But it is very well made. I think it's worth someone's time, at least someone's awe. And only once is enough. So there's
yeah.
that. Yeah.
All right. That's good. I like that choice. It's a little obscure. I'm guessing for a lot of people it might be obscure, but it's one of those that okay, it's a nice mention, but it's also a nice add to the watch list because the premise does sound interesting to check out. I'm gonna go recent with the one I'm going to mention now, and I'm sorry, I'm going to talk spoilers. So at whenever I start mentioning it, I'm gonna say spoilers and give space for whoever hasn't seen it go get, I don't know, a cup of coffee or something. So, this is at least in more. I have a pretty hefty list here, but Promising Young Woman is the one for me. It's a movie that it's in my top three for the year 2020. It's an amazing film, but I haven't been able to bring myself to watch it again. And okay, here comes the spoiler. Let me give you 5 seconds for space here. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad ending. It's another ending would have been better in my choice. But killing off the character like that, just yeah, I haven't been able to get myself, the Carey Mulligan character. I haven't been able to just press play again, and I even wanna own it, but I haven't been able to press play whenever it's streaming or tell somebody, "Hey, let's watch this movie," because it's one of those where I need to be in, as Irving said off the air, you got to be a little bit desensitized to be able to watch a movie like that with such a bombastic conclusion. I still think to this day that it was a bold move from Emerald Fennell to write the story like that, even though if it gone the other way around, it would have been a better movie in my view. But I know why it was written that way. So that's the end of the spoiler alert. But yeah, that's just how I get with that. I haven't been able to watch it again. I do want to watch it again at some point, but I need to, you know, watch that again. I think after 18 seasons of binging Law and Order Special Victims Unit, I think my mind is a little more prepared this time around.
Yeah, definitely. As an Law and Order SVU fan here, yeah. I remember the first time I watched that film, right? And you talk specifically about the ending. I remember yelling to the screen, like, "Wow! How come? No! Ah, ah!" And then what happens, right? In the very end, um, it felt satisfactory, but at the same time, it made me feel, and I think in that aspect, Emerald Fennell does a great job. It made me feel the frustration every woman lives on every day of her life. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, Irving, what are some other movies on your list that you want to kind of mention for us here?
Oof. Wow, this has already been a heavy, heavy conversation because based on Joel's description of his movie, and me remembering going through memory lane because of you, Chris, thinking about Promising Young Woman, it reminds me just when I got out of that theater, I avoided a lot of things about watching Promising Young Woman, and when the movie came into the theaters and I went to see it, I was kind of like hyped and very excited because I heard a lot of people championing the film, but when that ending came, I was like, this must turn into a supernatural film because this woman needs to, for some reason, spoiler alert, come back like alive. She's not dead. This is not how this is supposed to end. And I understand everything behind it, and it is absolutely on purpose to make us feel that way, especially as men. But at the same time, it's so hard to go through. I just can't believe, critics that saw this film like over and over and over and over. I don't know. I truly, to take my hat off in
Right.
front of those, but I can't. Some of the ones that I have in here, I'm gonna mention, recent titles. I guess the oldest one, it's 12 Years a Slave, which is a Best Picture winner.
Correct.
I have watched that film possibly now that it's probably almost 11 years. I think I watched that film like 4 to 5 times only. And those who have seen it know that not even just only the topic, it's just how graphic Steve
Hmm.
McQueen,
Yeah.
shows the violence in that movie, and also through the pain that Lupita Nyong'o's performance and character, portrayal, like it's hard.
Hmm.
It's so hard for me, especially, those last 20 minutes of that movie. I feel like completely heartbroken. I don't I couldn't eat after
I've
that
seen it.
immediately. It's just
I've seen it
hard.
once. I've seen it once, and I've been meaning to see it again. Because Irving gifted me a copy of it. I've been meaning to see it again, but I haven't. Yeah, it's tough to actively go on and say, "Hey, I'm gonna make some popcorn and watch 12 Years a Slave," because that's not how that should go.
there there are admirable things that I can sit
Yes.
down and watch, but not through the whole film. Like I love Hans Zimmer's score in that film so much, and how it
Yes.
plays in the movie. It's just beautiful. So another one that I have is a 2016 Martin Scorsese. No, I'm not gonna say masterpiece. I'm gonna say I just said it. It's another gem that Martin Scorsese made in 2016, and this film, I would say that flew also similarly to Origin under the radar almost. And it had two incredible performances from Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver. I think for those who at times have questioned their faith, watching this movie and seeing how these two priests endure so much torture, and the way that this film ends, it's literally it's one of the heaviest films. And to say that from
You're
Martin
talking about Silence.
Scorsese, yeah, I'm talking about Silence. I'm sorry that
Silence.
I did not say the name of it. It's Silence, 2016 Martin Scorsese film. Then I have here Mass. Those who wants to
Yes.
see a showcase of
Yes.
acting um, can watch that for an hour and 50 minutes. I kid you not. This is one of the toughest in terms of subject
Hmm.
um, films that I have seen lately. Then I have another film that I'm not gonna put it on the same level in terms of how that this film is great, but it's also not a bad movie at all. And it shows, and it has one of the most powerful female performances that I have seen probably in the last 10, 15 years. It's called Till with Daniel Detweiler, who
Mm-hmm.
criminally was snubbed from the Oscars last year. And the last one that I have, it's a very fresh one that I'm still circling around the idea of sitting and watching it again, and it is called The Zone of Interest, the
Yes.
best international film winner this year at the Oscars. I love this film, and I love this film because of how great Jonathan Glazer utilizes the medium, this art form, to tell this story and to do it in a way that leaves you equally as disgusted
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
stunned as probably I would say, I have to say, as the experience of watching Schindler's List. um I think this is an incredible movie that will endure the test of time. And last but not least, I'm going to say this: um uh the the beauty of having Origin and the Zone of Interest in this particular list that I have is that I don't think that anybody can probably just sit down and watch these two films back to back without taking a good break. But
No.
if you do so, you're gonna have a banquet. This is
Yeah.
arguably probably top 10 films of last year. So those are my movies.
I have a list here, and I want to mention some of the ones with no context. I'm just gonna say the titles and because of time, but I want to acknowledge two films from what's remaining here, but I also want to go down on the list. I said Promising Young Woman. I also want to mention Titan, the Julia Ducournau film. That's a mood to watch. Uh, Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac. That's it's not what you expect. It's a rough watch. It's not what you expect. Um, and I also want to acknowledge one from last year, like Irving has done. Mar- Another Martin Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon. That's a movie it's not something you need to rewatch, but it's good to watch every now and then. But you kind of need a good break from watching that, but it is an important film to see. So the two movies I want to acknowledge. This is one that it's the actual answer to this question. This is a movie that I have seen only once, and I saw it back in 2006. From this moment, it's 18 years ago, and I remember every second of it. And I haven't, almost 20 years later, I have not been able to press play on it because I want to see it with the eyes that I have now. It's a film by Gus Van Sant. It's called Elephant. And it's a movie that draws inspiration from the Columbine school shooting. And it's a movie where it has like four characters, and the whole movie is basically the camera with a long shot of each character from behind as they're walking down the halls of the school, just going about their day. And each long sequence is how each character got to that point. And if I mention Columbine school shooting, then I'm basically saying this is not a spoiler. This is a synopsis point. It's how each character got to the point, to the moment of the shooting. And, every time they kind of get to that point, we see another character from behind just walking a long shot and what their day was like. And that includes, I will say, that includes the shooters. And you're not expecting the shooters and to see that it's almost in the vein of the Zone of Interest in a way. There's ambient noise, there's a quiet eeriness to it. But I thought it was brilliant when I saw it 18 years ago, and I really want to see it again. But it's one of those movies that, especially now, where unfortunately mass shootings just become all too common, it's relevant. That movie came out in 2003, and it's unreal how it was inspired by a true event that happened over 20 years ago, and it still can be relevant today. So I would say I recommend it, but it's one of those movies that you kind of need to be a little desensitized to be able to see it. But it's fine filmmaking from Gus Van Sant, who's an acclaimed filmmaker. It's called Elephant. So that's the first movie and this is not a movie that I rated highly, and I will mention it just in passing. I want to mention Alejandro Jodorowsky's La Montaña Sagrada, The Holy Mountain. Uh, I think I didn't rate it like overly highly, but in shock value alone, it's just, I think it's brilliant in pieces. But I literally had to take a whole week break after finishing the first hour, and then a week later I saw the second hour. So those are like the other films I kind of wanted to mention. So have you guys seen those before?
No, at least I haven't seen Elephant yet, but I wanted to add that um, it might do a good double feature with a film that Irving mentioned earlier, Mass. You watch Elephant first, and then Mass, and maybe you don't need to watch those two films ever again. Just
Well,
saying.
are you sure? Are you sure it's a good idea to use those as double features? Because whenever you see a movie like that, you want to pair it with something that'll, I don't want to say, for lack of a better expression, I will say cleanse your palate. I mean, you're not sullying your palate by watching those films, but to kind of cleanse your mind. Like if I see Elephant, I might want to pair it with Office Space.
Yeah,
So I
but
can balance my mind out.
since there are very related, no, and
Right, right, right.
and the reason I bring Mass is not only because Irving mentioned it, it's also because it's the aftermath, the things that
Right.
mostly we don't see. Maybe another film that could pair well with Elephant might be this little gem I talked about a few weeks ago, called oh my god, I forgot. Falling is
The Fallout. The Fallout.
the follow. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. I'm
yes,
so
that's
sorry.
with
Yeah,
Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega and Maddie Ziegler. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could pair up very well with that one too.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
there's
I
that.
agree. Tell me more about some of the other movies on your list.
Yeah, I'm going to mention then a little bit quickly. First one, believe it or not, I have only watched once, 2001: A Space Odyssey. For many, Stanley Kubrick's magnum opus.
Hmm.
The reason I have only watched it once is enough, honestly, and
Yeah,
also it is a very difficult film to watch for the first time.
yeah,
So I have to admit that even though I like it and I rate it accordingly, um, it is a film that it is better if you watch it in a 10-year span, like every 10 years or something like that, so you can
that's
see
how I've
something
done
different.
it.
Yeah, so you can see something different every time.
And you can say the
So
same thing about another Kubrick film, A Clockwork Orange. You can say the
yes,
same thing.
yeah, I agree. I almost put it on my list, but I decided not to since I
Uh,
already had 2001.
Good of me to
So the
mention it then.
yeah, no, but it's okay. Okay. The other one that I have, it's Manhattan, 1979's Manhattan, by directed by Woody Allen. Um, I think that the name says it all.
Yeah,
It's directed by
there's
Woody Allen.
the reason is
Um,
pretty obvious at this point.
yeah, yeah. The plot of the movie is based apparently on a real story, on a true story about him. That that those who have watched
Yeah.
Manhattan know that the movie is about the relationship of a 30-something old man and a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah.
It's an exploration on that. I think it is a good movie, honestly speaking.
Hmm.
Even because of the
Yeah.
person involved. But
Notwithstanding, yes.
yeah, it is a movie that deserves at least a one view, especially for the cinematography.
Hmm.
Also, the acting is great, honestly, and it has its jokes and everything, but especially for the cinematography. At least the cinematography, for only
Hmm.
that, watched it. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other two films, one I have mentioned before, but before going to that one, that's going to be the last one. I have to mention a little film from Czechoslovakia, modern day Czech Republic, um, uh, a film from 1970 called Valerie and Her Week of Wonders.
Hmm.
It is a film from the Czech New Wave, directed by Jaromír Gires. Um, it is a trip of a film. Um, I liked it very much.
Yeah.
I think the way it uses cinema and the cinematic language, it is very precise, very creatively, and everything about that. But there are some issues with the film that they're not in the way that it is managed. That it was managed, it is not vulgar, no problematic, but I can see why some people might find it that way. And it is that the protagonist, Yaroslava Shalerova, I hope I'm pronouncing the name well, um, she was, I think, 13, 14 years old, and there are scenes where she is completely naked.
Mm.
And I know that some people might find that uncomfortable and think that for that reason they shouldn't watch the movie. I think they should. I think
Hmm.
they treat her with respect in the few scenes that happens, and also it is important for the telling of the story.
Yeah.
And the mother was present all time, so there's that.
Yeah. No
Um,
No Dan Schneider situation here.
Yeah. Lastly, but not least, I have mentioned this film before, The Devils, Ken Russell's The Devils, 1971.
Right.
Man, you have to watch that film at least once because Vanessa Redgrave gave the performance of her life in that film. And I know that if you're religious, you might think, no, I'm not going to watch that film in my lifetime. Watch it. Vanessa Redgrave steals the show. So, yeah,
Very
that's
good.
it. That's my list.
Very good. Yeah, I hope that we at least helped the watch list of somebody here. But anyways, we're gonna go in a little bit, so let's do final shots. Hit it.
Hulk! Forget it! How dare you!
All right, final shot time. Irving, final shot. What do you got for me?
Well, it's pretty simple. Same energy Neon has with Immaculate in terms of their marketing, and the same, enthusiasm they should have had with Origin.
I gotta agree with that. There's a lot of energy for that movie.
Yeah, T-shirts, promotions, some stills from the movie and all that. They
Where
went
was
all
that?
in.
Right? Where was that?
Where was it? Where was it when Origin came out? I don't know. They should know.
We're still waiting. Joel, final shot.
So, Netflix, you fumbled the bag with this film. Cuties is a good film. That's it.
Netflix seems to fumble the bag on a lot of things lately, so no surprise. So, it's my turn. My final shot is, hey, there's a movie called Paint Drying. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's 10 hours long. It's on YouTube. Who wants to do the challenge of watching that? Any takers?
No, not me. No, thank you so much. I might begin the film, but that's it.
Maybe
I don't know if I finish it.
Maybe you could put it in the background. It's no different than when somebody puts a fireplace on YouTube.
That is the only reason, the only excuse, the only justified reason for me to do that. Please, no.
I don't believe in censorship. I believe that film should be seen by everyone. So tell me, Chris. I'm gonna watch it.
Oh my god, this is gonna be an interesting experiment. Anyways, that's our show. Thank you for listening, and tune in to us next time. And we are out. Thanks for listening. Find our episodes on Spotify and YouTube. Also, follow our Instagram for FilmSake Pod.